Hello, friends. This is gonna be wild. I don't know if I'm ready. How is everyone tonight? Or this morning, as the case may be. That is true. We will return to this periodically to play through those routes we love so much. But I do want to get us to new content as well. And no worries, Noelle. I hope you get your work done in ample time. So let's see. We have Fox, Anna, Rock, Lynn, Jolie, and Noelle. And possibly some others that I haven't seen yet. It's going to be really interesting wrapping this one up. Dylan, hi! Assuming we actually, finish this tonight, this is the evening in which we get the title drop. The only route that gets the title drop is Hijikata's. Grant! Thank you, friend, for the bits. Purple bits for purple eyes. Hey, Twilight. Indeed, it is feels time. Those fucking emotes. Hex go brrr. God damn it. Emotes are great, aren't they? I don't even use 80% of these other emotes that get unlocked. I just forget about them. Nice, Dylan. Fall Guys is fun. I suck so bad at it, but it's fun. I confess I've been considering redoing all of my emotes, since at least two out of the three are from TTRPG shows that no longer run here. So it seems weird to have them here. I'll probably keep them on the Discord, but I might take them off Twitch, just to align it more to the content that's actually on my channel. But I haven't thought too deeply on that yet, so, you know. Shmeh. Yeah, I mean, obviously Hypescape stays because OG Husbando for the win. But we need to replace the others probably with some of our other favorite husbandos. Or heroines, as the case may be. Maybe we'll do a Jed emote. I don't know. Jed's great. I love her. No, Hypescape forever. Hypescape is eternal. Well, friends. Wow, the music kind of ended almost perfectly with the amount, with like the seconds we had left. Let's just get over here and get into this. I'm a little scared for our collective hearts. Gosh. Some sad fuck with their Oz Mafia emote collection. God. No. Honestly, I was considering replacing Kokori-san with a Soji emote that would be exactly the same face, because appropriate. Also, that's a fun idea. I have written some stuff for a Hello Percy emote, so. Oh boy. Yeah, that might be the last time we watch that opening. Maybe we'll swing it on our way out, just for good measure. Because it's a bop. Here we go! Oh yeah, the training montage with Saito and Soji, also very good. Very good. So, last time we followed Hijikata all the way to Ezo and rejoined him. We got Otori to, like, do us a solid and get us there after he tried to ditch us. And now we're basically common law married and everybody knows it and it's fine. He just kind of finally owned his fucking feelings. He knows he needs us. It's great. So.
No sooner had we stepped back into the inviting warmth of Hijikata's office than his expression suddenly shifted.
Oh boy. Well. Fuck. So that's how we begin tonight. Oh man. Okay. At least we're getting it out of the way right at the top of the evening. Shit. Oh man. Anyway, time for the blood donation.
His body changed as I watched, his fiery nature forcing itself to the fore. Hijikata!
蝦夷地に来てからは随分調子が良かったんだがな。
His have been decidedly not thirsty at all. Because we figured out the situation. All of the original boys, their scenes were fine. It was all the new ones that ended up with those weirdly thirsty things.
俺の体もそろそろガタが来たようだ。せめて春まで持ってくれるとありがてえんだがな。
Did he mean that he was ready to throw away his life so long as he lived to fight in one last battle? Please don't say that.
Yeah, we give him blood, whatever. That's a weird thing to say, Chizuru, but okay.
Didn't I tell you why I'm here?
Greetings, Diltewalt.
I unbuttoned my collar, exposing the pale flesh of my neck, and stepped toward him. Please don't say you just want to live until spring. I need you to live longer than that. Much longer. Tears fought to get out, but I swallowed and pushed them back.
Oh yeah, definitely. Chizuru's like, fine.
I'm not going to let you go.
怖え女だな、お前は。
He smiled, although the pain twisted it into a heart-wrenching grimace. His hands clasped my shoulders and I felt his lips brush my neck.
Yeah, it's technically a new CG, even though all they did was change the outfits, the lighting, and the background. But yeah, we have our new outfit on. Yay! It's very cute.
こうして血を飲むのは久しぶりだな。
I blinked. You haven't had any since you left me back in Sendai? He fell silent, and I guessed I was probably right. Why? I almost asked why not, but it was probably for the best that I didn't. He likely wouldn't have answered. I somewhat suspected I already knew the reason. If he only cared that his body lasted until spring, then he likely hadn't been taking care of it.
Hijikata, we would like you to have some self-preservation, please.
And that stubbornness of his was a double-edged sword, to be sure. But it was part of what made him him. I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
What? Chizuru? What? Why'd you make it weird? We were doing okay there for a minute.
My blood must taste awfully good.
Right? That's a weird thing to say, Chizuru, but okay. Whatever your kink is, we're not gonna kink shame.
I felt him stop suddenly for a moment, surprised, but his lips stayed pressed against my neck. 'Cause, you know, I'm a demon.
Chizuru, what the hell?
In fact, it must be so good that you don't want to drink anyone else's blood. He let out a soft snort of surprise.
そうかもしれねえな。
Greetings, Farrell.
When his lips touched my neck again, they felt very, very gentle.
I think that was a terrible flirt. I think she was trying and sucked, actually. But whatever. You're welcome.
Excuse me.
おう。
Hijikata's eyes were fixed on a stack of documents, and I mustered a troubled smile back at him. This was a familiar scene for me whenever I found him in his office in Goryokaku, as it seemed his work ethic was the same as it ever was. Knowing him, he'd been going at it since the morning, and he must have been exhausted. Even if I was worried he'd find me obnoxious, I placed Hijikata's teacup beside him as he scribbled furiously onto a piece of parchment.
なんだこれは。俺は茶なんざ頼んだ覚えはねえぞ。
You gotta drink more than just blood, my dude.
I know, but I took the liberty of making you some. Hijikata scrunched his nose and he finally looked up at me as I flashed him a bright grin. I wasn't afraid of him anymore, even if he glared. Well, for now, at least.
疲れてねえから心配すんな。俺には机仕事が向いてるんだよ。
Hijikata's like, I guess I'm pretty good at office work. Wow, I know that feeling entirely too well. God.
Well, it's true that your duties here in your office are very important, but it's not like I could imagine a job or position that you wouldn't be cut out for.
あるに決まってんだろう。人前で喋るのは面倒だし、腹の探り合いも好きじゃねえ。
Oh, I feel this one as well, actually. Hijikata, why are you such a mood?
I suppose, for Hijikata, loathing a profession never got in the way of completing his duties. I was certain that he had a knack for public speaking, let alone balancing the emotional stress that comes with managing a large group of soldiers.
だから、俺の苦手な役割を肩代わりしてくれてる榎本さんや大鳥さんには、それなりに感謝してるんだぜ。
So they tackle all the public-facing stuff, and they just let Hijikata hang out in his office writing orders.
Yes, but in return, you're the one who's in charge of managing all of the subordinates. Right, Hijikata?
持ちつ持たれつだしな。長いこと鬼呼ばわりされてたから、どうにも調子が狂っちまうが。もう誰かを怒鳴り散らす理由も、鬼でいる必要もなくなっちまったしな。
Hey, Monochrome.
His purple eyes glanced toward me with an exceptional gleam, and it was like he was a completely different person from the man I met all those years ago in Kyoto. It was true. Hijikata was no longer the demon vice commander, and it seems he discovered...
Wow, my voice is just like dying tonight. I'm sorry. I've been very scratchy lately, but we're gonna keep trying. Yeah, it's the nice version. He's become very tired and therefore a lot less mean.
It was true. Hijikata was no longer the demon vice commander, and it seems he discovered an inimitable truth. The practice of self-love was deeply fulfilling.
どうした？俺の顔に何かついてるか？
Huh? Oh. I was wondering when people started calling you a demon. Was it from when you first moved to Kyoto? When you were all working to establish yourselves? Of course, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to.
そのうち話すきっかけができたら聞かせてやるさ。そう面白い話でもねえがな。
Flashback? Flashback! Maybe. Or we just skip that entirely, I guess.
March 1868. News of the Imperial Army's plan to strike Goryokaku reached our scouts. The former shogunate's navy flagship back in Ezo, the Kaiomaru, was sadly sunk in a naval offensive. A piece of information that proved unnerving was the news that the Imperial Army was sending a brand new ship rumored to be even bigger than the Kaiomaru. News of this, perhaps unsurprisingly, deeply unsettled the members of the Republic of Ezo. On the night of the news' arrival, Hijikata held a meeting late into the hours of the night. I waited outside of the meeting room patiently.
雪村君、会議が終わりましたよ。
Oh, thank you for everything you do, Shimada. Today has been a rough day on everyone. You must be hungry. I'm planning on bringing Hijikata something to eat.
いえ、今はやめておいた方がいいでしょう。
What makes you say that?
今の会議で、土方さんは随分と機嫌を損ねられた様子ですから。
Great.
今はお一人にしておいた方がよろしいかと。
With that, Shimada exhaled an enormous sigh and he bowed before walking away with a slumped head. For Shimada to be in such a dour mood must mean that whatever they discussed in there was truly serious. Imagining the possibilities made my palms sweat. It can't be that bad. I'm used to being scolded. I raised my head high and I stood in front of his room. Hijikata? I'm coming in. As I let myself into his room, I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks.
Valid, Chizuru.
Hijikata wasn't sitting in his usual spot. Instead, he was sitting on the floor with a grave expression.
Looks like he's standing to me, but whatever.
立ち入りを許可した覚えはねえぞ。
Yep. Again, Super valid.
I'm sorry. I, heard your meeting ended. If you'd like even just a nip of something to eat, I can bring you something soon. What do you say?
I guess we should grab this CG before it's too late.
いらねえよ。腹が減ってね。
There we go. There's the full shot. Yep, Hijikata's number 1 prettiest and Iba is number 2 prettiest by Chizuru's own in-universe ranking.
He was curt, and I could tell he was irritable. Although whatever was discussed in their meeting was left for the meeting room, I could tell those heavy thoughts still swirled in his mind. I asked him a question after I checked the walkthrough. Hijikata, is there anything I can do for you? Please let me know. It could be anything.
その手のセリフももう何度聞いたかわからねえな。今は本当に何もねえよ。八つ当たりみてえな真似してすまなかったな。
I feel like Saito might be a reasonable assumption for number 3, given her apparent taste. She seems to like the very samurai aesthetic men. I believe that means we have achieved max romance. There's a way we can check. Full bloom! There we are! And low corruption. That's good. I mean, we're obviously following the walkthrough and making the right choices, so, you know. Since we've been doing the walkthrough and not actually, like, playing the game, so to speak, I've never really gone to the warrior record, but generally the warrior record is a thing you use to keep track and make sure you're making the right choices. Because if this weren't at full bloom, we'd have, like, low romance, and this thing would fill up if we were higher on corruption, and that would lead us to bad endings. Basically, you can get high corruption if you don't give them blood, because Chizuru is special, and I guess her blood staves off the bloodlust ultimately, or something, and, you know, it's fine. Oh no, Twitch, don't hiccup. Please, Twitch. We good? Hopefully. Okay.
お前がここに来た時は人の気も知らねえでと思ったもんだが。
Aw. Look at him. He'd do a smile.
今はお前がいてくれてよかったと思ってる。本当だ。
Oh. Hijikata?
お前はその目でずっ と俺を見てきた。今日にいる時からずっとだ。
So, remember how we've talked about the entirety of Kyoto Winds was basically Chizuru like pining after this man? I sort of appreciate they bring that full circle. They were clearly not ignorant of how that route looked. I appreciate a thing when it's done with intent.
今思えばみっともねえ姿も随分見られた気がするが、皮肉なもんだな。そのおかげで忘れずにいられるんだからよ。
Remember what?
背負うものの重みだよ。あいつらが俺に託していったもの全部だ。
Oh.
がむしゃらに走るだけなら俺一人の方がずっと手っ取り早い。だがお前がいると突っ走る前に歯止めがかかるんだ。重しみてえなものだな。
Whoa. Whoa. I think we just won the game. This feels like victory. The most romance. We have achieved a romance.
てめえの命をかけることに迷いはねえ。ただかける場所を間違っちゃいけねえ。そう思うようになった。
He turned his gaze toward the window, peering to what was outside with melancholy eyes. But even so, his words were kind. My heart fluttered warmly in my chest. Then, if my life's purpose is to be there for you, then nothing could make me happier. As a woman, this was really all I could ask for. I could only imagine everything he'd been through as he walked the path of the warrior. So for Hijikata to recognize me as someone who made the difference for him, I couldn't help but smile.
お前には苦労ばかりかけるな。
Well, compared to the trouble you have to deal with, it's nothing.
それでも一人の女が背負うには重すぎる荷物だぜ。
I won't let this bring me down. I am an Edo woman after all.
そうか。
Hijikata left the windowsill, and he slowly walked towards me.
千鶴、気が変わった。 何か食わせてくれるか。できればお前が作ったものがいい。
Oh.
Huh?
何でもいいから持ってこい。ただし、うまいものを頼む。お前の手料理に新選組の命運がかかってると思え。
All at once, his face became warmly familiar to me. It was as if the realization of our connection hit me suddenly, and I couldn't help but grin madly. Okay. With the threat of war looming in the horizon, I could sense that Hijikata's mind would struggle to find itself at ease in the coming days. But even then, I took solace knowing that I could give him just one moment of reprieve before whatever was to come. For now, this was all I could really offer him. I decided to give it my all as I was preparing his meal, It was the least I could do to make him happy.
I guess we made a great dinner.
It was mid-March. Ezo was starting to welcome their late spring. As we had long anticipated, the Imperial Army's naval fleet finally arrived in Edo. Allegedly, their ships were going to dock in Miyako Bay, and the news of their arrival spread quickly. The Republic of Ezo did not have the full capabilities of countering an impressive naval fleet, so the leaders gathered quickly to plan defensive strategies. Hijikata was a key member of these discussions. I, on the other hand, was ordered to remain in Goryokaku, so all I could do was wait patiently and pray for his safe return. After what seemed like hours of waiting, Hijikata! Everyone! Oh my, I'm so glad to see you all safe. I wasn't sure what got a hold of me, but as soon as I caught sight of Hijikata and his men, I was overwhelmed with emotion and began sobbing uncontrollably.
We seem to be short a boy who is normally with Soma.
泣き虫だな、お前は。そんなに涙ばっかり流してると、そのうち干上がっちまうぞ。
I don't think we saw that already. But we may have just now.
Hijikata's lips curled into a wry smile, but he stood tall beside me with a warm greeting. Wait.
Oh no, here it is. No!
Before I became too excited, I realized someone was missing, and I scanned around to see where he could be. Where's Nomura? Suddenly, everyone's expressions dropped. My heart dropped like a stone into my stomach. No, don't say it. I saw Soma furiously bite his lip.
Nomura wa nakunarimashita.
Fuck. This hurts every time with the same amount of vicious intensity.
"真っ先に敵艦に切り込んでいったのですが、撤退が間に合わず."
An altogether completely different emotion washed over me. And this time the tears were justified. How many more times did we have to hear news like this, left to fend against the unbearable pain of loss? This was the first time since arriving in Ezo that we had to surrender ourselves to the news of another lost comrade, and my vision went blank for a second.
野村君はずっと近藤局長をお守りできなかったことを悔いていました。
Oh, buddy. That's why he charged in.
あの世に行った時、恥じることなく局長にお会いしたいと口癖のように言っていました。
Oh, ow.
彼は本望だったと思います。立派な最後でした。
Their strategy to overtake the fleet was a failed one. One of our ships was lost in the ensuing conflict, and from what they told me, so was the life of one of the great captains tasked with leading us to victory.
Ow.
函館を離れるなら今のうちだぜ。 ロシアかイギリスの商船に話をつけてやる。お前一人を逃がすくらいどうってことねえさ。
I understood immediately what he was trying to do. Hijikata knew the Shinsengumi would almost certainly lose the battle that would soon be upon them. He wanted me to escape to safety, to a place where Hakodate would be a distant memory. He wanted me to survive, but he intended to die. You can convince me all you want, but I won't budge. I want to stay with you. It warmed my heart to know that he cared for me, but I couldn't leave him alone to die. I wouldn't. In the near future, if I were to receive word of his passing in a place far, far away, I would sooner die beside him here. Please don't send me away. I want to be with you. My thoughts went back to the 3 months I was separated from Hijikata. I felt incomplete. It was as if I struggled to feel whole. I couldn't eat, sleep, or even breathe normally. If I were to be torn away from him again, I don't think my heart could bear to see another day. I won't ever leave you again. He furrowed his brows in worry, staring back at me silently for a moment, and then he finally let out a sigh.
そう言うだろうとは思った。本当に物好きなやつだな、お前は。
I initially read his sigh as a resignation, but it seemed that Hijikata was keen in sensing how I was feeling. I could see his mind working hard as his eyes flicked back and forth in minuscule amounts. You're worried about me, right?
当たり前だ。
Well, if you're worried about me, then don't let me out of your sight, okay? It'll be your job to keep me safe. I smiled at him. I guess he didn't expect that from me, and his eyebrows rose in surprise. And you can't do that if you're dead, can you? So you survive. To protect me. He thought about that for several seconds.
安心しろ。俺と女を先に死なせる気はねえよ。
He wasn't quite willing to commit to the rest, it seemed. But I was happy that he would admit to wanting to live, if only a little.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we are officially in the month in which Hijikata, the historical figure, dies at Hakodate. Time for our man to get shot off a horse.
It was May when the Imperial Army began to march toward Ezo. Just as Hijikata had predicted, they landed in Otabe and moved their forces through the Matsumai and Futamata passes.
Anyway, that's the Matsumai Pass.
Otari led the men who had been assigned to hold the Matsumai Pass. Hijikata, on the other hand, was assigned to the men in Futamata. I accompanied Hijikata to the Futamata Pass, where we waited for the enemy to show themselves.
Yeah, they tend to stick pretty closely to actual history. Except occasionally they like to kill Saito for no apparent reason other than to make us fucking sad.
Even though the snow had long since melted, the weather was still quite cold, and it grew even worse during the night. It was quite abnormal. Some nights it was enough to make men stationed outside lose sensation in their hands and feet. On one such night, Hijikata appeared at the makeshift barracks with a barrel of alcohol. As he entered, the men hushed themselves.
"ここが正念場だ。気張ってくれよ."
Look at him taking care of his boys. Letting them drink up before they probably all die.
"休みらしい休みも取れねえが、酒の一杯ぐらいは飲ませてやるからよ."
ありがとうございます。
Hijikata went down the lines, pouring a cup for each soldier. It wasn't every day that an assistant army minister went down among his men to pass out alcohol. It was easy to see that the gesture had moved and inspired them.
もっと飲ませてやりてんだが、いつ戦いが始まるかもわからねえしな。敵が攻め込んできた時に酔っ払っちまってたら笑い話にもならねえ。
Hijikata spoke softly, as if he was persuading a child. A ripple of laughter moved through the men.
だから今は一杯だけで我慢してくれ。戦いが終われば浴びるほど飲ませてやるからよ。
我慢なんてとんでもないです。
Oh. Ow.
また酒にありつくためにも全力を尽くします。
At least he knows what motivates the men. But also, ouch. This is literally just the Drink With Me song from Les Mis. That's what this scene is.
Seeing how much everyone looked up to him, it reminded me of Kondo back in the day. Hijikata and I walked together back to his tent from the barracks. Hijikata, are you all right?
大丈夫って何がだ?
I was at a loss for words. Something had made me nervous, but I couldn't put my finger on what. You're not drunk, are you?
そんなこと心配してたのか? 大丈夫だ。俺も一杯しか飲んでねえよ。
The smile faded from his face and his gaze slipped into the distance.
あいつらは俺の息子みてえなもんだ。
Hijikata bringing the dad energy again all of a sudden.
俺にできることは残り少ねえ。せめて酒ぐらい振る舞ってやりてえだろう。
All of the men were gathered under the flag of the Shinsengumi, which stood tall in the torchlight. What it stood for was something that all of us, especially Hijikata, held close to our hearts. Futamata Pass was the line of defense responsible for holding out against the Imperial Army's advance. If they were to be quickly outnumbered, or if their ammunition became scarce, it would likely spell the end for all of the men here. However, not a single man wavered in the faith of Hijikata, and each of them followed his commands. I'm sure they understand how you feel.
ありがとうよ。お前はいつも俺が欲しい言葉をくれるんだな。
Aww. Gosh, they're so gross now.
I felt my face flush. Well, I thought to myself, I need to tell him how I feel more often. By early June, the weather had begun to warm up. Unfortunately, with the warm weather came the battle at Matsumai Pass. Otori's men were routed by the Imperial Army. Hijikata and his men were ordered to retreat from Futamata and return to Goryokaku in Hakodate. This was, as we knew, where the final battle would take place. Everything had gone just as Hijikata had predicted. One particular night, I was with Hijikata in his room.
お前いつまで起きてるつもりだ。そろそろ休んだ方がいいんじゃねえか。
I know I should, but days like this with Hijikata were becoming more and more of an uncertainty. All I wanted was to cherish every moment with him while I still could. So I lingered for a moment longer. As I was about to finish my sentence, a visitor arrived.
土方さん、いらっしゃいますか？相馬です。
Eh?
おう、どうした？
Hijikata looked towards the door, beckoning Soma to enter the room.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。ですが、どうしても土方さんにお渡ししたいものがあって。
渡したいものだと？一体なんだ？
これを。
Soma reached into his kimono and pulled from it a woodblock print.
He seems to be wearing a uniform, not a kimono, but okay. They do have lovely voices. This entire game is beautifully cast. They're all real good. But Soma and Iba in particular just sound delightfully soft all the time.
When Hijikata realized what he was looking at, his eyes grew wide, and he stared intently at it.
こいつは、伊吹が書いたものか。どうしてこれを俺に？
Depending on how one defines pretty, I don't know if I would class Kazuma's voice as pretty, but it sure is something.
俺、前に江戸に戻った時、あいつに会って。その時言ったんです。伊吹の思いを、見てきたものを皆に伝えてくれって。そうしたら先日、この絵が送られてきて。見た瞬間、土方さんにお渡しするべきだと、そう思ったんです。
Hijikata's gaze was firmly fixed on the woodblock as Soma tenderly reached to give to him. And then...
こいつは受け取っておく。大義だったな、相馬。
I think he did.
Soma nodded calmly and then he bowed. Without another word, he turned and left the room. Hijikata gave a curt smile, exhaling as he plopped back onto his chair.
妙な偶然もあるもんだな。
What was that all about? What is that? I tried not to pry into what just happened in front of me, but I couldn't help but wonder what it was that elicited such a reaction from Hijikata. The minute I saw it, I gulped. A vivid, intense brushstroke upon the woodblock evoked a feeling of magnificence from me. It was... a fury?
Oh, it's just the one piece of art that he had before.
Painted upon the woodblock was the drawing of a fury, complete with white hair and crimson eyes.
Serizawa!
Within those eyes, however, was none of the murderous rage I'd come to expect in furies. A peculiar kindness was imbued into them.
I guess this is maybe not supposed to be the Serizawa portrait, but whatever.
I found myself strangely captivated by the image, and I motioned Hijikata to convey my wonder. Who is this?
新選組。
Oh,
いや、
okay.
俺たちがまだ身分老子組って呼ばれてた頃、局長だった人だよ。
Serizawa and kind eyes don't really mix, but okay. Sure?
Really? The Shinsengumi had another chief besides Kondo?
ああ、とんでもねえ人だったぜ。
Wow. Being pretty fucking honest.
商家を脅して金を巻き上げるわ。酒かっくらって島原で狼藉を働くわ。
Oh my god, Serizawa was the worst.
あの人。芹沢さんが生きてた頃は、心が休まる時間なんて、ただの一時もなかったもんだ。
What Hijikata had said confused me. Everything he described to me about Serizawa was incongruent to the kind-looking image of the man etched into the woodblock.
毎日毎日知恵を絞って、どうやって芹沢さんを出し抜くか。それだけを考えてたとき、あの人は言ったんだ。本気で近藤さんを押し上げてんなら、鬼になれってな。
Oh, damn. Well, that's an interesting bit of motivation. Yeah, this is a CG that they pulled from the Reime Roku novel, I think. It's cool that they've inserted this moment here. Anyhow, TLDR, Serizawa is a douchebag. He's the reason the Shinsengumi had such an awful, awful reputation starting out.
その言葉通り、俺は羅刹になった芹沢さんの命を奪った。
Pushing Kondo to the top. Before this conversation, I believed myself to have a strong grasp on what made Hijikata who he was, but I couldn't even imagine bearing the responsibility of killing the man who was supposed to be your leader, and I realized just how dire those straits must have been.
妙な話なんだが、芹沢さんはあの晩、俺に殺されることを知ってたような気がするんだ。
Hijikata's eyes were locked with my own for a minute of dull silence before falling back to gaze upon the woodblock.
俺に殺された瞬間、あの人はこの絵と同じ表情を浮かべてた。
What? His words baffled me. How could this be the same man? The man I saw in the woodblock looked so warm and gentle, and in no way did I interpret his expression as belonging to someone expecting to meet their demise.
思えば、俺が最初に受け取ったのは、あの人から託された荷物だったのかもしれねえな。新選組を中途半端に終わらせちまったら、あの世で芹沢さんに何を言われるかわからねえ。ずっとそう思って走り続けてきたような気がするぜ。
Hijikata. When it comes to men who've left a considerable impression on Hijikata, Kondo was likely one of the first men on the list to come to mind, but it seemed as though Hijikata reserved a special place for Serizawa as well, and I could hear the admiration.
どういう巡り合わせかはわからねえが、ゆうべ、芹沢さんの夢を見たんだ。
What kind of dream was it?
言葉はろくに交わせなかった。だが、夢の中のあの人は、この絵みてえな安らいだ顔をしててな。
Okay.
あの人の顔を見た瞬間、こう言われた気がしたんだ。そろそろ背中の荷物を下ろしても構わねえぞって。
Hijikata. Between Soma bringing the woodblock to Hijikata and this lucid dream of his, could all of it really be a coincidence? Or was it perhaps a foreboding sign of what was to come?
Yeah, like, don't know if taking advice from Serizawa is the best idea, but you seem to have gotten something positive out of that relationship, so okay.
After returning to Hakodate, Hijikata immediately left for Benten Fortress. Benten had been built on a section of man-made land that extended out into the ocean. It was outfitted with an artillery battery to fend off attacks by hostile navies. Hijikata's purpose there was to meet with Otori and other members of the Shinsengumi.
お久しぶりです、土方局長。
What up, boys?
よう、調子はどうだ？
変わりありません。いつ新政府軍が来ても返り討ちにしてやりますよ。
Oh, Soma, your positivity is very endearing and it makes me sad for you, buddy.
I'm glad to see everyone is safe.
何言ってやがるんだ。まだ戦いは始まってねえんだから無事に決まってるだろうが。なあ。
そんな心配してくださってありがたいです。
雪村君も元気そうでほっとしました。どうですか、調子の方は。
I love our family. We have our husband, our baby bro, and our dad.
Great. He's allowed me to stick around as usual. I don't know if I can live up to the bar you set, but I'm doing my best.
いや、君には誰もかないませんよ。
Yep, we sure make great tea. I mean, what?
確かに土方さんに勝てるのは雪村先輩だけですからね。
Huh?
お前らその辺にしておけよ。こいつがこれ以上調子に乗ったらどうするんだ。
What do you mean by that?
これは申し訳ありません。つい。
They ship it. It's true. Inoue is best dad, but Shimada's pretty great as well.
After some more laughter was exchanged, Hijikata suddenly fixed his gaze upon Soma.
ソマ、
はい、なんでしょ
例の絵、ありがとうよ。
う。礼には及びません。伊吹もきっと喜んでいると思います。
そろそろ俺も背負った荷物を下ろす頃合いなのかもしれねえな。
Right? It's really nice that everyone is supportive of the ship. Like, even Iba with the Soma route is like, he's a little bit gremlin about it and makes it plain that he's like, oh man, I also love Chizuru, but I support you. Just don't fucking hurt her or I will end you. Which I feel like is still a positive and valid response.
「後のことはよろしく頼むぜ。
Soma's expression froze. The words didn't seem to register for Soma at first, and he blinked incredulously with a nervous chuckle.
それは一体どういう。
Hijikata smiled kindly, staring back at Soma with eyes that brimmed with warmth. After a second, Soma perked up and his eyes widened, finally realizing what Hijikata had said.
わかりました。お任せください。
Hijikata nodded curtly, perhaps satisfied with the confidence in Soma's reply.
島田、大鳥さんを呼んできてくれるか。話がある。
わかりました。少々お待ちください。
Go fetch our soft gremlin friend.
After only a brief pause, Shimada reappeared with Otori at his side.
すまない土方君。松前口を落とされてしまったのは僕の力が及ばなかったせいだ。
Oh, buddy. Yeah, I believe so.
勝敗は陛下の常ってな。過ぎたことを言っても始まらねえよ。あれは兵を分散させたのが悪かったんだ。
Yeah, he looks baby, but he is not actually baby.
数に勝る新政府軍を迎え撃つなら、台場と五稜郭に戦力を集中させるべきだろう。
弁天台場は我々にお任せください。この命を懸けて守り抜きます。
そうです。誠の旗がある限り、俺たちは土方さんと共に戦い続けます。
バカなことを言ってんじゃねえよ。ここの指揮官は大鳥さんだってことを忘れるな。
We do Dragon Age on Fridays.
今回は僕も誠の旗を掲げるよ。それなら何の問題もないだろう。この旗が折れてしまわない限り僕らも負けないような気がするんだ。
Yes, also hello. It's Shinsengumi Saturdays here for perhaps the last time. Because once we finish this route, we've basically finished all the routes in the game. And then we'll be moving on to a different Otome game. Steampunk Saturdays, I think? Because Code Realize is real strongly steampunk aesthetic. We will be redoing Heisuke, but I think I want us to start on the new content for a round or two. Like, we need to let Hakuoki cool off for a change. Besides, I've been hyping Code Realize for like 4 months now, I think. We should probably fucking get to it at this point.
僕は負け続きだけど、志は最後まで降りたくないからね。
Oh, Otori, you sweet bean.
陸軍奉行が縁起を担ぐのか？しっかりしてくれよ、大鳥さん。
And that was when I realized suddenly that all 4 of them were smiling. They weren't just fellow soldiers anymore. They were comrades and friends, united in purpose.
It really does. I'm so glad we ultimately decided to save Hijikata for last. Good luck with the dungeon map! And thanks for popping in.
大鳥さん、島田、そして相馬。弁天ダイバーを頼む。
After acknowledging nods all around, he turned to leave. Good luck. I bowed and turned to follow Hijikata. Just then,
雪村君、土方さんを頼みます。
I turned to see Shimada staring back at me, and his eyes had a serious glow to them. Ever since the war had begun, I don't know how many times people said that to me. How should I respond?
Oh boy, second to last choice.
No, you can't pass that off on me. I understood the unspoken meaning of Shimada's request all too well. He was prepared to die. Words spilled out of me in a torrent. We don't know when this battle's going to end. It might go on for a long time. Even if we drive the Imperial Army back, there will be another fight eventually.
それは確かにそうかもしれませんが。
雪村先輩、島田さんは。
Soma looked to defend the intent behind Shimada's words, but I can't do everything, you know? I need your guys' help. Both of you guys. Shimada, Soma. Shimada looked at me silently for a moment, then released a great sigh.
参ったな。さすが、土方さんがこれと決めた方です。鬼副長が選ぶだけあって、心が強い。
Can I just say I deeply appreciate this version of Chizuru being like, no, you can't give me your, like, dying wishes, dude. You have to live. You go in feeling like you're gonna live through this.
Come on, don't make fun of me.
俺も無駄死にはしないと約束しましょう。土方さんを支えるため、頑張っていきなくては。
雪村先輩、俺、絶対生き残りますから。共に土方さんを支えましょう。
Oh, and you know what? They do. Live, I mean. These are the two that survive.
Yes! Hijikata's burden was a heavy one, but the more friends he had to care for him, the lighter it would feel. I couldn't let Shimada die. I couldn't let Soma die. And I couldn't let myself die either.
Whew, that was good. What a heckin' scene. Perfect time for us to take our break. Alrighty. We're gonna take our break, refill your tea and your water or whatever drink of choice you have. Hydrate yourself, friends. It's good for you. I will do the same. Pet a cat or a dog or hug something soft and fluffy. And yeah, we'll be back in about 10 minutes and we will bring this thing home. Hello, friends. I've returned. Did we have a good break? I've refreshed my tea. I have to say, first round of tea, I got some new stuff today. And I have gotten a green tea that has... It's got like coconut, ginger, and vanilla. And it's delicious. But I've switched to the herbal for the second half of the stream as per usual, which is a licorice lemongrass situation that is very tasty as well. Yeah, gosh, the Harney and Sons brand of teas are just some of my favorites anymore. I keep ordering just a bunch directly from them because it's so delicious. Oh no, find the needle in the carpet doesn't sound like the most fun. Yikes. Ooh, matcha sake sounds neat. I'm not a drinker, but if I was, I'd probably try that. Alrighty, friends. The time is upon us. I'm so nervous.
It was the evening of June 10th. We were going about our normal business when Hijikata suddenly spoke.
仕掛けてくるなら明日だろうな。
Right. The Imperial Army was nearly on our doorstep. When the sun rose the next day, Hakodate would become a battlefield. Goryokaku would be our last refuge.
本当にいいんだな。
For the last time, yes!
I knew what he was about to ask. Yes, I am. I'll stay with you. However the battle ended, I meant to be there with him when it did. He sighed.
女に言わせてばかりじゃ格好つかねえな。
What? His expression was solemn, but his lips were pressed tightly together, and I could feel his hesitation. I watched his eyes stare drearily back into mine. The silence dragged on and on. I began to feel rather uncomfortable. Finally, I opened my mouth to speak. However, before I could, Hijikata quietly began talking.
俺が誰より守りたいのはお前だ。俺はお前に惚 惚れてるんだろう。
Yay!
My mouth hung open. The question I'd intended to ask now, long forgotten. I'd loved Hijikata for some time by then. In the past weeks and months, I'd begun to realize how much he cared for me as well. But to hear the words at last... For a moment, I thought my heart would stop. In love. He gently lifted my mouth shut, and I gave a crooked smile.
Or gave me a crooked smile. Whatever. Somebody's smiling.
My skin felt on fire from the closeness of his body.
新選組を率いるって務めを果たした後なら死んでも構わねえと思ってた。
I was still speechless. His words lingered in my ears, and I could feel just how much had been weighing down his heart. It seemed as though he was trying to assuage my anxieties, and he spoke in a soothing tone.
死にてえと思ってるわけじゃねえ。ただ生きる目的がなくなっちまうだけだ。
At most, he had only ever allowed me glimpses and feelings. But now he was telling me things I was sure no other human had ever heard.
Well, you're not a human, Chizuru, but okay. I won't ruin the moment anymore, I swear.
I felt so lucky to have him close to me. It made me happy to know that he trusted me so truly and deeply, but what he was telling me was heartbreaking.
道しるべとしての役割さえ果たし終えりゃ俺が生き死にに頓着する理由も消えちまうんだ。
This must have been a sentiment he had shared with both Chief Serizawa and Kondo. It was something to which I became privy with the other Shinsengumi men, and it was passed down. Turning your back on the sacrifice made to the Shinsengumi was unthinkable to these men. This could potentially be the end of his journey. These men lived by their principles, and if Hijikata were to live by the sword, he must die with it as well.
だが生きたいと思う理由ができた。
I felt my body sag with relief. I'm so glad. He'd been through so much pain, and yet he still wanted to live. That made me happier than anything else. That's good.
お前がそばにいてくれるからまだ生き続けてえと思えるんだ。
Me? Did he really mean that? Could I really be Hijikata's reason for living? Even after his life with the Shinsengumi were to end, could I continue giving him a reason to live? Was I worth that? Do I have what it takes within myself to fulfill the role that the Shinsengumi had held for so long? I couldn't hold it in any longer. Tears streamed down. His words touched me so deeply. They were words I wanted for so long. I nearly crumpled to the ground, but Hijikata embraced me, holding me tightly without saying a word.
Oh, heck. Heck. We get smooch. And a great big hug while we're at it.
He opened his mouth as if to say something, then closed it. There was no more need for words. I felt his warm breath moments before his lips pressed against mine. There, nestled safe in his encircling arms, I felt content. I felt happy. His hair brushed against my tear-stained cheeks, tickling me. I could feel his desire for me in a way so deep and powerful that mere words could never have done it justice. His warmth pressed against me, soothing even the deepest places in my heart. All the wounds I'd suffered at sorrow's hands began to close. His love, the only salve they needed. The only thing I needed was his touch. At last his stubborn heart had opened, and through his lips it poured out what had long kept hidden.
I know, feels a little unfair to use a hype skate to celebrate this scene. Maybe just a heart emote.
His touch was as gentle as ripples on a lake, but when we kissed, I felt in him a passion that burned so hot it could put a forge to shame. I could feel our hearts, our feelings, our very selves intertwine. And though that feeling faded as our lips parted, the love that flowed between us remained in my heart.
So, that was very good. Compared to, like, every kiss scene in Seven Scarlet, which was entirely about the physical grossness of people mashing lips. And none of the emotions. They finally fucking did it right. Or I should say, they did it right originally, and then the future editors fucked it up. Anyway.
Its radiance was undimmed. I loved Hijikata as he loved me. That was an immutable truth now.
これからもそばにいろ。何があっても離さねえから。覚悟しとけ。
Yes. I couldn't stop crying. And it wasn't from sadness. My heart overflowed with joy, and it trickled down my face as tears. I helped give Hijikata a reason to live. Or at least, that was how he felt. That was more than I could ever have asked for.
Yeah, we're done with the blood drinking scenes. All we got left is, the infamous Hakodate thing, and, our good buddy Kazuma needs to show up again, because that's a loose end we haven't tied. Yeah, we need that name drop.
The following day, Hijikata received notice that Benten Fortress had come under concentrated bombardment. The Imperial Army had begun their attack. After hearing how dire the situation at Benten was, Hijikata immediately decided to send reinforcements to the fortress.
俺は弁天台場の援護に向かう。千鶴、お前も来るな。
Oh boy. Oh, he's just like, you're coming, right? Bless. Of course we are.
Yes, he grinned. I'd never learned how to ride on a horse. Knowing this, Hijikata simply set me behind him on his. We galloped through the town, moving at what seemed to me an incredible pace, when suddenly the crack of a gunshot rang out, and something slammed into Hijikata's body.
Fuck. That was fast.
Hijikata's body shook. The horse, surprised by the gunshot, reared up and threw us to the ground. Ow! Now rid of its frightening burden, the horse bolted. I was fortunate enough to land in a bush, and so all that happened to me was a number of small scratches. Hijikata! I crawled across the ground toward his body, my own bruised and aching. The soil all around him was stained dark red. In my time with the Shinsengumi, I had seen many battlefields and a great deal of blood. But this... what was I going to do? Terror gripped my heart and I could hear blood hammering in my ears. Hijikata! I shook his body, which was drenched in blood, and I called his name over and over. Hijikata's brow furrowed ever so slightly. His wound was serious. A normal human would have died instantly. It was his fury blood that kept him alive, if only barely. Hijikata, please say something! His eyes opened to thin slits.
千鶴、怪我はねえか。
Fuck! He doesn't look healthy right now. At all. Yikes. Who fired that gun? I just want to talk. With another gun.
Yes, I'm fine. He was nearly dead, undoubtedly in excruciating pain. But even then, his first thought had been my safety. I choked back a sob.
新政府軍に気づかれると面倒だ。ここから離れて傷が癒えるのを待つぞ。
He struggled to his feet and began to walk, blood dripping down the length of his body. Hijikata, stop! I ran over and hauled his arm around my shoulder. He leaned against it gratefully. I scanned our nearby vicinity. Luckily, we were safe. Perhaps the soldiers saw us fall from our horse and by some divine chance assumed that we had died. It became glaringly clear, however, that each passing moment was another lucky minute spent. It was imperative for us to find a safe place to hide. I nudged Hijikata, moving his arm over my shoulder, and we ran through the brush into a nearby grove. Hijikata, are you all right?
ああ、まだなんとか生きてるさ。
There was a steady flow of blood oozing from his wound, and one would guess he was dead from his pale complexion. Soon even my hands and clothes were drenched with his blood.
Yeah, he is definitely like a scary level of pale compared to his normal complexion right now. This man has lost so much blood. I don't think being a Fury protects you from that.
It doesn't look like any more soldiers are around. In the meantime, we'll have to do what we can to stop the bleeding. Let's go.
頼む。
It took a sheer force of desperate will for me to stop my fingers from shaking as I carefully peeled off his clothing. As I removed his shirt, I saw the bullet hole in his gut. It bewildered me to think how accurate the shot was. This is horrible. The blood continued to flow from his stomach. Judging from the bleeding in his back, I assumed the bullet left his body at least. I took what little relief I could from this fact. Please wait here for me. I need to fetch some water to clean your wound. I was able to perform a bit of first aid, but at the end of the day, it was only a stopgap. We would have to return to Goryokaku immediately. As soon as you're able to move again, Hijikata, let's head back to Goryokaku. We need to leave while we can and collect ourselves. Hijikata? Can you hear me?
ああ、聞こえてる。そうだな。俺一人で乗り込んでどうにかなるもんじゃねえ。
Okay. I couldn't let him lose consciousness. I needed to do whatever I could to keep him awake. Don't worry. Shimada and the others have everything under control. They'll be waiting for you.
当たり前だ。新選組の名は伊達じゃねえさ。だが悠長にしてられる場合でもねえ。とっとと戻って援護してやらねえと。
You're right. You're gonna make it, Hijikata. However, it didn't look like where he'd been shot showed any signs of clotting anytime soon. Hijikata. My voice quivered as I called out to him. Hijikata! A chill ran down the length of my spine. I could feel a cold sweat form on my forehead. Even with first aid, another man would have succumbed to these wounds, let alone be able to speak or move. Hijikata must have been mustering the entirety of his spirit to continue on. Hijikata!
わめくんじゃねえ。聞こえてる。
She did a little first aid. She bandaged it up, but the wound isn't closing. Which implies these assholes had a silver bullet, yeah.
His voice was barely above a murmur. It was practically a wispy breath. It could only be a matter of time now. The warning bell was beginning to ring in my mind. Even if he were a Fury. At once, some sense of clarity came to me that suddenly stopped my hands from trembling so forcefully. That's right. He couldn't die from this. He's a Fury. I inhaled deeply and I gathered my courage to speak. Hijikata, please, drink my blood. He curled his brow and his eyes widened slightly. I didn't bother waiting for him to respond. I unsheathed my kodachi from the scabbard on my hip, lifting the blade high above me in a glimmering splendor. Without any doubts, I moved the shining blade toward my wrist. Ow.
やめろ!
The bark of his command startled me, and the blade clanged noisily to the floor as it dropped from my hand. In his condition, he shouldn't have been able to scream as loudly as he did. But there they were, his eyes gazing sharply at me. Why?
必要ねえ。じきに治る。
Define okay, Hijikata.
まだ死なねえって俺は決めてるんだ。言っただろうが。お前が生きる理由だ。俺は死なねえ。大丈夫だ。
He spat the words from out of his gritted teeth, and in response, I said, I don't believe you. What I do believe is what you said, that you want to live and don't plan on dying here. But I don't believe you when you say you'll be fine.
千鶴。
Hijikata blinked incredulously, perhaps taken aback by the intensity of my glare, and I felt tears begin to form. It's all your fault, Hijikata. You're just so damn stubborn after all these years. So I'm not taking your word for it. You always put up a wall and pretend everything is fine, even when you're bursting at the seams. Maybe my words were a little too harsh on him, especially in his condition at a time like this, but I didn't care. I was determined to get my way, just this once. And maybe, just maybe, I got through to him.
なんて女だ。
His lips curled up slightly, but he soon broke into a light-hearted laughter.
選ぶ女を間違えたか。これだから江戸の女は困る。
Finally, some good Chizuru.
Look, I promise you can give me grief for this later. But for now, please. Before I could finish, Hijikata closed his eyes. It looked as though it was a silent resignation.
勝手にしやがれ。
Hearing him relent made me cry freely. He leaned gently against the tree, shutting his eyes carefully. I rested my head on his shoulder for a brief moment before reaching for his sword. I swiftly swiped the blade from its sheath before running it across the length of my small wrist. The color of my blood was the same as his. I put my lips against where the blade sliced, and I sipped a large gulp of blood without swallowing.
Bloody smooch. I guess. Also, like, we're basically giving him literal lifeblood here. Blood makeouts! I guess that's hype. In this context, I don't find this weird. I think it works, given everything we know and whatnot, but they could have spun this a different way and it would have been really fucking weird. They kind of did it in Yamazaki's route, and it was a bit weirder there.
I pressed my lips against his, giving him life through our connected mouths. I could hear his throat gulping the blood.
Ew.
It may have been his fury instincts kicking in that allowed him to accept the blood as readily as he had. More. I sipped more blood, depositing more into his mouth.
Jeez, Chizuru, please don't also die of blood loss. That would be a shame. Y'all are so close.
We repeated this process over and over again. As long as he craves it, I must give it to him. I couldn't let Hijikata die here. Under no circumstances would he lose his life.
Yeah, she cut herself open and, like, sucked it from the wound, and then she's giving it to him. That's what's happening. So she's given him a giant dose of her Oni blood. Baby bird style. Because he's not really in any condition to, like, drink it directly.
I gave him blood over and over, as if it were a ritual sacrifice for his life. Please, Hijikata, survive. This was all I had wished for. I bent my head down to sip more when suddenly Hijikata's hand reached out to stop me. Hijikata?
もう十分だ。血も止まった。
His cheeks, which moments before this had become as pale as snow, began to show color once more. There was a vibrancy in his voice again.
バカな真似しやがって。またてめえの体を傷つけたのか。
It'll heal soon.
そういう問題じゃねえんだよ。誰が好き好んでてめえの惚れた女にいてえ思いさせてえもんか。少しは察しやがれ。
Aww.
After all that trouble, the first thing he does is scold me. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Well, why don't you put yourself in my shoes? What kind of absolute idiot would ever want to watch the man she loved suffer?
うるせえ。
He pouted his lips like a child. It was so endearing. It was impossible to keep from laughing.
そろそろ移動するぞ、千鶴。じきにここも気づかれる。
They just had a whole flirty no you conversation.
Okay.
行くぞ。裏手から五稜郭に戻る。
Okay.
できればもう二度とこんな風に味気のねえ口づけはしたくねえもんだな。
Oh, oh my. Also, yeah, definitely. Maybe next time it'll be less bloody.
He smiled wryly and I nodded as I helped him stand. His body wasn't great, but it was enough to get us back. He dusted off his lap, trying not to wobble as he stood. After what felt like an eternity of walking, we finally made it back to Goryokaku. Our return was met with a gorgeous view, one that rendered both of us utterly speechless. The petals of cherry blossoms danced in the sunlit breeze, twirling their scent in the summer air. The scenery was so breathtaking, it almost felt like we'd stepped into a fantastical world. Were we dreaming? Hijikata, how are you feeling? He forced a small grin. As a Fury, he should have been fully healed by now. Amagiri's words about the Furies borrowing their power from their future lifespan suddenly came to mind. I slowly began to panic, becoming paralyzed with dread over the implications of this realization. Was this the end for Hijikata? Hijikata broke the silence, interrupting my anxiety.
お前には桜が似合うな。
Oh. Gosh. He's the most fucking casual with his flirts. It's so silly. He's like, oh, hey. Says our boyfriend covered in blood, barely alive.
Huh? I looked up at him, perplexed by his words. You really think so? I've always thought they really suited you, though. Each fallen petal was strikingly beautiful, in defiance of the tragic end they would surely face. I felt like there was a striking resemblance to his life, aiming to be the ideal warrior as he put his life on the line. A strong gust of wind blew through the field. I could smell the faint scent of cherry blossoms as they suddenly scattered through the wind. Then, out of nowhere,
生きていたのだな。
Sup, Kazuma? You ready to fight?
his eyes fell on Hijikata, and his mouth curled up in a smile. Why? My voice broke, but Kazuma only laughed.
決着をつけに来ただけだ。俺の誇りにかけてこの禍根を消し去る。
Excuse, if it's an affront to your honor, you are the one who decided not to listen to your clan and come chasing after you. But anyway, whatever, Kazuma, let's do this.
At Utsunomiya Castle, Kazuma warned us that he'd return. However, I never thought he would forsake his clan and travel all the way to Edo just to fight Hijikata.
よくぞこの地までたどり着いたものだな。ただのまがいもの風情が。
Yeah. Ezo. Editors, come on. I know they're similar in English, but I'm pretty sure the kanji are different.
東国での戦は敗走に次ぐ敗走だったと聞いている。
There we go with the weirdly casual translation of his speech that feels a bit strange, but whatever.
たとえ武家の生まれのものでも、いや、鬼として生を受けたものでも、あれほどの苦難を乗り越えることはできぬだろうな。
Look, did you come here to pick a fight, or did you come here to just talk smack?
That was a little surprising. His tone was derisive as usual, but his words were almost compliments. Backhanded, to be sure, but a praise of a sort nonetheless. In some way, he recognized what Hijikata had been through.
まさか本当に蝦夷まで来るとはな。俺が途中で死んでたらどうするつもりだったんだ。とんだ無駄足じゃねえか。
His face twisted into a crooked grin. And then he drew his sword out. Please wait! Hijikata is currently gravely hurt! If he fought in this condition, he'd surely die. I stepped in front of Hijikata, between him and Kazuma. However, he moved his arm in front of me.
下がってろ。
But
こいつは何もかも投げ打って俺を追ってきたんだろう。ならその心意気に応えてやるのが誠の武士ってもんじゃねえか。
that's... Kazuma had practically abandoned his clan. This, up until now, seemed to me to be his entire life, just for the sake of defending his honor. Hijikata and Kazuma were different men in almost every way, but perhaps they shared a warrior's pride.
平気だよ。俺は死なねえ。死ねねえ理由ができたって言ったじゃねえか。
He just suffered a serious injury and his lifespan might be used up. If he fights Kazuma, then surely by then his life would be up. Even if I could convince him to run, then everything he'd stood for and lived for would be destroyed. No, I couldn't do that. Fine. I'll just watch. I believe in you. Hijikata smiled. His smile was fleeting, like those scattered blossoms floating in the summer wind.
羅刹など所詮はまがいもの。ただでさえ短い寿命を削ったとて、その力は我ら純血の鬼にはかなわん。
Yeah, yeah, we know.
The cherry blossoms continued to dance around us, eventually falling upon Kazuma's golden hair.
貴様らは散りゆく定めにある。生き急ぐ様はまるで桜のようだ。
生き急いでるわけじゃねえよ。必要とされるものが多かっただけだ。新選組が理想とする武士の道は険しいんでな。
Hijikata's tone seemed to indicate he was speaking seriously, but I saw his lips curl into a sardonic grin. All those challenges were just opportunities for him to climb the hill and achieve his life's goal. Watching him now made me see just how much he'd given. Every drop of sweat, blood, and tears in his life to protect the ones he loves. After some silence, Kazuma muttered,
羅刹というまがいものの名は貴様の生き様にはふさわしくないな。
There was no hint of contempt left in those red eyes of his, full of confidence.
貴様はもはや一人の鬼だ。
Kazuma, the man who took pride in being a demon. He called Hijikata, who drank the water of life and became a fake, as Kazuma called them, a demon. I think, for him, that was the highest possible compliment he ever could have given.
まがいものという評価は取り下げよう。貴様の存在に敬意を表し、鬼としての名をくれてやる。白王騎だ。
Yo! Title drop. That's Hijikata's demon name, as given by Kazuma.
My mind went back to the first night I met Hijikata. His hair was flowing in the night's wind, and I remember thinking it looked as if it was cherry blossoms scattering furiously in the night air. It seemed almost as if the name had been chosen long, long ago. So perfectly did it fit him.
鬼として認められるために戦ってきたわけじゃねえんだがな。
Kazuma and Chizuru over here are like, ah, yes, this is a significant moment. Hijikata's like, yeah, thanks, but anyway, whatever the fuck that was. I'm not doing this for you, you fucking weirdo. Yup. Hijikata just is gonna be Hijikata all the way down. Always.
His mouth quirked up in a smile as he slid his sword from its sheath. With a sigh, his body shivered and suddenly his hair was white.
長くは遊んでやれねえが、それでいいだろう。
構わぬ。人たちで仕留めてくれよ。
Oh my.
Kazuma nodded, his own sword sliding from its scabbard. The air was tense between the two. Not a soul could have come between them. I think the battle will be settled in an instant. They stood apart from one another, still as statues. A wind blew up, casting scores of petals into the air. Between the two combatants, there was a brief moment of stillness. In the next instant, they both leapt forward. If only for a second, their swords met. The two traded blows that thundered through the field around us, slashing with their full body weight. Kazuma's sword passed within a hair's breadth of Hijikata. But Hijikata's blade found its mark. He buried his sword deep into the demon's heart.
Yeah, the movie changed things a teeny bit, as you can see. They sort of, yeah, Kazuma seems to survive in the movie. He just gets wounded, and they have a much longer fight. This was over pretty fucking quickly.
守らなきゃならねえものがあるんだ。たとえ鬼にだろうと負けられねえんだよ。
No, Saito defeats him in his route as well. Yeah, in the movie, he gives him the name after the battle. The battle was kind of like, yeah, prove yourself to me, you fucking fake. Here, it plays out differently.
Hijikata's voice carried with it a confident authority. Kazuma gazed up towards the sky, and I could almost see a faint grin creep onto his face. His lips moved.
貴様のような鬼と戦い、生き絶えるのであれば。
Even with his heart skewered by Hijikata's blade, he could still talk. He put on a brave smile as he spoke.
何を悔いることがあろうか。俺は誇り高き鬼としての生を全うした。
His eyes were clear and free of hostility. If anything, he seemed at peace. To die in a duel against a foe he respected. It was a death he could accept with grace.
お前は俺に勝った男だ。残 残り少ないその命を存分に生かすのだな。白王騎よ。
They were his last words. Hijikata drew his sword out of Kazuma's body as it fell, dropping the still bloody sword back into its scabbard.
That was a good monologue, huh? That was real good. Gosh.
Then Hijikata's body trembled for a second, and he gasped before falling to his knees. Hijikata! I ran to his side. Hijikata! Hijikata! Please hang in there! My desperate screams reverberated around us, but Hijikata could only manage an uncertain lip curl.
Listen, dude. Whose fault do you think that is? Don't fuck with us, we will cry. Wait. Is this like his idea of a proposal? Did he just propose as he lays, like, seriously wounded on our fucking lap? Oh, god damn it, Hijikata.
He winced as he spoke, and my heart clenched in my chest watching him suffer in so much pain. How many times could I possibly watch him push himself beyond his limits? I only cry because of you, Hijikata.
Heck. True, the only other proposal that would be acceptable would be another sword vow. Clang swords, congrats, they're married. Maybe that's the wedding ceremony.
And besides, being married to a warrior doesn't make you impervious to watching the person you love get hurt. Teardrops streamed down my blushed cheeks, dripping down upon Hijikata's tender face. He reached his hands unsteadily to wipe my flowing tears, kindly running a finger across my cheek.
Ah! Excuse me, I need to go roll under my desk for 10 minutes and die several times.
Hijikata's eyes quietly shut. I held tightly onto his blood-soaked body, hugging him closely as the blood seeped into my shirt. Bright, blowing blossoms danced coolly above us.
I know, right? The way they fucking end these is concerning so often. God. No, no, no. Remember, there's always a post-credits scene. There's an actual epilogue. Don't panic yet. Yeah. Don't flip your tables yet, friends. And no, we haven't done the DLC. Oh, gosh. We are. We'll do some talking and decompressing afterwards because we still have time left in the stream, so. And I think we should talk about this. I mean, you can buy it on Blu-ray or whatever if you have one of those things. You can probably get it in digital form on a few formats. I happened to get it on Steam because they had it, which was the weirdest place to have a movie, but whatever. Here we go, final chapter.
Hijikata didn't reach Ben 10 Fortress. Even with the reinforcements Hijikata had sent, the fortress couldn't hold against the Imperial army and surrendered. Eventually, they took Hakodate as well, and the army of the Republic of Ezo was forced to surrender. It was done. Just as spring came to Ezo, the war the Shinsengumi had fought for so long came to an end. I heard later that it had been Otori who convinced the army to surrender peacefully. Better to live and see the future than die and be denied it. Just the sort of thing I expected from Otori. The Imperial army recognized Enomoto's skill and spared his life, sending him to prison instead of the executioner. Somehow, Shimada survived the final fierce battle. He escaped unscathed. When I asked what he intended to do, he'd laughed and said he'd probably open a school of swordsmanship in Kyoto.
Aww.
Soma, on the other hand, was entrusted by Hijikata with the Shinsengumi, turned himself into the Imperial army, and last I heard, has been detained as chief. As for Iba, before the battle at Goryokaku Castle, he tragically took his own life with a bottle of morphine given to him by Enomoto.
Holy shit. What? Iba.
If he were to have survived by surrendering to the Imperial army, his life would have been forfeit anyway. I suppose for Iba, this was the ultimate sacrifice that a warrior in his position could make. I watched the cherry blossoms bloom around me, recalling everything that happened back in Ezo. How many lives were lost in this land? How many patriots had fought and died for what they'd believed in? But perhaps most of all, I remember the time I spent with Hijikata. And they're so beautiful. Pirouetting and dancing on each breeze of wind, the cherry petals brushed against my skin like silk. Each one brought a tiny whiff of the smell of new life. Whenever I see the colors of spring, I remember that wonderful time. The time he spent by my side.
お前、本当に桜が好きなんだな。
Wow, this is really pretty. But also, I don't like the way this ending is being framed because it seems to be implying that we are not together anymore. Feel free to riot, friends.
Yeah. Neither the plum flower nor the tree peony could compare to their beauty. After all, the reason I like cherry blossoms was... I like them because they remind me of you. He looked at me in serene contemplation for a moment, then let his grin spread across his face in a smile. He narrowed his eyes before he softly murmured,
俺も好きだよ。お前に似合うからな。
His voice, soft and quiet, throws my mind into chaos. My face was flushed with color and I turned away. The way he whispered so intimately, so sweetly. There was no way I could possibly hide how I felt about him. I doubt I'll ever grow used to his voice. The very sound of it makes my heart flutter.
最近、終わりが来るのが怖くなった。
Huh? My voice shook as I tried to figure out what he meant by that.
お前との暮らしは飽きねえからな。ずっと生き続けてって思うことがある。
Oh. As a fury, Hijikata had spent his future in exchange for power in the present. How much he had spent, we couldn't know. His life could end tomorrow. If he could live forever, then that fear of the unknown would disappear. But I knew that could never be.
てめえの運命を潔く受け入れて散るってのは綺麗な死に様かもしれねえが、終わりを求める必要なんざねえよな。生きてえからあがき続ける。そっちの方が性に合ってる。
His vigorous voice gave me courage. I don't want us to be apart. I would stay and fight with him until the end was at last upon us. I wanted to look death in the eye and say we'd made the most of what we had. I want to stay with you as long as I can.
お前はすぐに泣くから、なおさら置いていけねえ気がするんだよ。
Oh, he was right. Tears had begun to roll down my cheeks without me noticing at first. I blinked in surprise, but that hardly helped. Sorry, Hijikata. I rushed to wipe the tears away, but he grinned and stopped me.
いいんだよ。お前の涙を拭うのは俺の役目だ。
Oh my god. Excuse me, dying again. Holy shit. Oh, fuck. Hey, remember when I very incorrectly said the Hijikata route was boring? I'm sorry. Wow. I've never been more glad to be so fucking wrong in my life.
And he did, with kindness and with love. Then it's my job to support you too, right?
当たり前じゃねえか。お前以外の誰にそんな真似ができるってんだ。どんだけ突き放しても効かねえ。しまいにゃ蝦夷地まで追いかけてきやがる。お前にゃ負けたよ。この先一生勝てる気がしねえ。
Surrounded by cherry blossoms, we sat as springtime returned to the north. Next year, and the year after that, I wanted to watch spring unfold with him. I wanted more happy memories like this one. And I wanted the day that we would be separated to never come.
Okay. So they waffled on, like Chizuru was there remembering, but we don't know when that was. So hopefully they had lots of time together. Anyway. My friends, we're not quite done. That was amazing though. Holy shit. Let's get this DLC out of the way. So we're rolling to 1868. So we're going back in time by like a year. But also, goddamn, Hijikata. Huh.
The battle in Utsunomiya had waned on Hijikata's health, and it was decided that he should move to Aizu in order to recuperate his declining strength. Good morning, Hijikata. How are you feeling? Whoa! What's going on? Why are you all dressed up?
どうなさったんだも何も。部屋の中に閉じこもりっきりじゃ気がめいるからな。
Ah, yes, this right here is the man we fell in love with. Yup.
But you can't put too much strain on your body. Look at your wounds. They've barely had a chance to heal. You mustn't overdo it. You're only going to make things harder for yourself. Get back into bed. You know how close you came to dying in Utsunomiya? Do you want it to happen again?
お前、何を勘違いしてやがるんだ。
Huh? What do you mean? I'm serious.
戦うつもりはねえよ。そもそも、怪我人の俺が戦場に行ったところで邪魔になるだけじゃねえか。
Then sit the fuck down, please.
天気がいいからちと外を散歩してこようと思ってな。お前も付き合うか。
Oh.
Oh, of course, I'd love to. Besides, you're in no place to judge me. I know how reckless you are when left unattended, Hijikata.
たく信用ねえんだな。まあいいや、行くぞ。
Remember when he used to call us kid?
今日は随分と日差しが強いんだな。暑くねえか、雪村。どうした？何かおかしなことを言ったか？
All right, Twilight, good night. Well, no, but Otori was right. You've changed a bit, Hijikata. Dare I say the Demon Vice Commander is starting to get a little soft around the edges?
そりゃいろいろあった後だからな。こんな時期に傷養生する羽目になるなんざついてねえと思ったが。 もしかすると天が考えるきっかけをくれたのかもしれねえな。
Suddenly doges. We're just gonna shut the door a little bit.
まあ俺は神やら仏なんてものは信じちゃいねえが。
Hijikata. Over the last 6 months, the Shinsengumi had grieved the loss of many of their top advisors and warriors. Especially Kondo, their charismatic chief, whose absence left the Shinsengumi in an aimless quagmire through which they had struggled to overcome.
なあ
Yes, Hijikata?
今度斎藤や島田に会ったらこの近くで一番眺めがいい場所がどこか聞いておいてくれねえか。
Best view? But why? Halfway through posing the question, however, I had discovered the answer for myself.
近藤さん、それと宇都宮の戦いの時に俺が切っちまった兵の墓を建ててやろうと思ってよ。
Oh.
どっちの亡骸も残っちゃいねえが墓ぐらいは作ってやりてえと思ってな。
Hijikata. During my initial interactions with him in Kyoto, Hijikata had certainly preceded his reputation as a notoriously strict demon. But over time, I became closely acquainted with him enough to peel back the layers, realizing that his gruff demeanor was mostly for appearances. In truth, I found him to be a remarkably thoughtful man whose loyalty outweighed his foul temper. Understood. I shall let you know how they answer. If you don't mind, would it be all right for me to assist you in digging the graves? Hijikata looked taken aback, fluttering his eyes for a second upon hearing my request.
ああ、もちろんだ。よろしく頼むぜ。近藤さんも死ぬ間際までお前のことを心配してただろうからな。
Oh. Thank you. Beads of sweat dripped down Hijikata's brow, and he used the back of his palm to wipe them off.
何か冷たいものでも食ってから帰るか。
Yes, that sounds lovely. A symphony of cicadas buzzed around us as we trekked back down the rocky trail, and I turned to look over my shoulder to remember this place.
That was short and sweet. Very good. Much good. All right. Suddenly cicadas. And we're done! Heck! Obviously, because I did not grab the, make them endure it CGs, we don't have that one, but I will collect those in my own time. But yeah, look at all this. So good. End of an era, indeed. Look at all this heckin' music. Ah, yeah, I know. It's weird, right? See, there's still odds and ends I need to get, but we did all the happy endings, and that's really what we stream. So, let's give the opening one more good round and then we'll chat a little bit. That's it. That's the last time we're gonna see it. At least until we do the Heisuke replay and stuff. But wow. What did it? All right, we're just gonna chill here for a bit. Indeed, we just finished the last route we had to do in Hakuoki after streaming it for 2.5 years. So welcome. This slot next weekend is going to be occupied with Code Realize. Pardon me while I let my cat in. Get in here, Percy. Please. No? All right, cool. Oh, wow. 2.5 years. 2.5 years is a long time to be with one game. Lordy. What a good game. Thank you, friends, for letting me share this with you for that fucking long. Well, thanks for dropping by. Is it Lao Geodrit? I want to make sure I said it correctly. And thank you. Yeah, so for your reference, normally on Saturdays and Sundays in this time slot, I stream Otome games. Sunday nights, we're doing Psychedelica of the Ashen Hawk. We're kind of in the middle of a run with that. Saturdays has been Hakuoki, but now we're done. So we're going to be filling it with Code Realize and starting that for the first time next weekend. But gosh, so yeah, like that, exactly. Even with all the weird localization shenanigans and odd editing choices, the story in this game shines through it. I think it's amazing. It's just so good. And like, yeah, the Hijikata route was, the Edo Blossoms half was really good. Start to finish. Like every single chapter of that was incredible and heart-wrenching and ultimately very good at the end. Ah, Percy's here. But yeah. Gosh, we had a lot of faves. I feel like we Oh, Percy's got opinions. All right, Lynn, sleep well. Get some rest. But yeah, our each route had like it's legitimately hard to choose a favorite for me these days. Like there's something to love in almost all of them. I don't know. What do you all think? Favorite moments? Favorite tidbits? Characters? We're all agreed that we hate Kodo. We're all agreed that Kaoru can get yeeted. We know who we hate. Whomst do we love? Sakamoto. Heisuke! Yes, Heisuke is a good boy. A very good boy. Soma is also a good boy, and I still appreciate that for two characters that kind of occupy a very similar archetype, they were so distinctly different. It was just very good. Gosh, yeah, Sanon's route, wow. And yeah, they sure did Kazuma dirty. That I'm never gonna stop being mad about that. But we do have movie Kazuma where they ship teased it a little bit and it was great. Yeah. We got some good boy feels with Nagakura, that is true. That ended up being pretty cute. We also, like, that was a real good route about just the human cost of war, if you will. So that was pretty neat. Sano got done dirty, sadly. Sano is, like, I fucking love Sano, but his route was just not good. It was unfortunately not great. No blood drinking in that one, though. So it has that going for it, I guess. Yeah, his route unfortunately suffered from a Chizuru who had zero self-esteem and was constantly filled with doubt about whether or not Sano loved her, even though he literally told her pretty much every day how much he fucking loved her and wanted to marry her. It was not a good route. Alas. Yeah, I know. Sano is one of the best freaking characters. He's so good. Iba's was great. It definitely, like, that one just had a lot of editor choices getting in the way of the story being good. Yeah, Sakamoto was solidly flirty and it was very good. And Chizuru caught on, like, way faster than she does most of the time. Chizuru in this route, in the Hijikata route, ostensibly, if you want to argue the canon, like, which is the canon route, technically it's probably the Hijikata route. He is the poster boy. The game is literally his name, technically. This is a very good Chizuru. Like, ultimately, she starts off, in Kyoto Winds very meek and unwilling to do much. But man, does she grow. This girl grew to, like, say what she wanted and persist. She's persistent, and it's real nice. So it becomes a good journey for Chizuru as well. I know. I distinctly remember when I played the PSP version way, way back when, and I finally got to Hijikata's route, I was just kind of bored by it because it focused a lot on the war stuff and not as much on the personal loss that Hijikata was going through. So it just felt kind of bland. I think some of what helped is this time around, Soma being a new character that they added to the cast. Soma is present, Iba is present. We have a lot of other faces we grow familiar with and grow to love through the other routes. So it's not just us kind of following the history and occasionally checking in with Hijikata. And it just makes it's more intensely felt when we lose folks. Like the Nomura thing. Wow, that hurts, right? Owie. And just getting through all the stuff with Kondo and watching everything kind of fall apart. They focused it in a more personal way, I think helped a lot. Gosh. So yeah. This was so much better than I ever expected. Saito is good. His route was always good. They didn't really change it much, which I think was fine because it didn't need to be changed. It was just good. When I played the PSP game for the very first time and I didn't use a walkthrough and I just made choices that I felt like made sense, I ended up with Saito. So, you know, OG husbando. He's got a special place in my heart a little bit. Yeah, sadly, no routes of Inoue surviving. Rip. That's the other thing. We have, like, there are so many good side characters that get lots of billing and lots of good moments, which is great. Yep, my real OG husband. You would like to aggressively rewrite this game. Why, Dylan? Why? That is what fanfic is for. Yes. How would you rewrite this game? Modding is too much trouble. That would require like art and voicing and stuff. Just write some fan fiction. It's fine. Kazuma's route needed aggressive rewriting, that's for damn sure. I'm deeply disappointed in that one. Sano's route really didn't change from the original, so it was always kind of not great. Everyone lives happily ever after. Yeah, so here's the thing. All the weird blood drinking scenes, I mentioned this. I noticed it. All the boys from the original version of the game, which these boys right here, this is the original bunch that you could date. All the folks that got added as bachelors to choose from are the ones whose blood drinking scenes are fucking weird. And I'm going to attribute that to whoever translated the new scenes. Because they're not like that in Japanese, as Noelle has helpfully pointed out to us through her amazing translation efforts. So yeah, we have to think about the fact that the script in this was a little bit of a pastiche. Because they definitely kept a lot of stuff from the original translation, and I think they just like had to add in the new stuff. So like, you can tell when we're dealing with the original versions of the scenes and when we're dealing with the newer shit. But yeah, this could honestly benefit from a very good editing pass and like retranslating some scenes. If there was a patch that I would want, it'd be that. Or like a mod is like, let's fix these broken ass translations. But that's a lot of work. And I don't think these games are designed to be like modded or hacked. But anyway. Yeah. At its core, it's very good. I'm sure the actual original untranslated version of the game is as excellent as the best scenes we get in English. I'm not going to complain because at least we get it at all. Like, I cannot stress enough, I'm at least happy we get it at all. But yeah, Hakuoki was the very first otome game I ever played. And I think it was the first for a lot of people in the West. It kind of kicked off the fact that, oh, maybe this is a thing that could sell. That is a weird rewrite. Anyhow, Hakuoki has become the cash cow for Idea Factory / Otomate. It is several different anime. It is a whole fucking multitude of side games, fan discs, and other content. There's some drama CDs. There's several musicals, stage musicals. Music's pretty good, actually. There's the Hakuoki Sweet School Life, which is the high school AU version. Which was also made into a live action TV series, apparently. Because why the fuck not, I guess. So the high school AU was originally just like a little bit of fan content that got tacked into one of the other games. I believe the PS3 version of the game has some content from it. I never finished it. And then it eventually, I think, got made into its own game. But we never got that one over here. And then, yeah, then they like made it into the weird live action series, which obviously we definitely didn't get. But yeah, a couple of the musicals are on Spotify. The Soji storyline is, the Hijikata storyline is, and the Saito storyline is. They're very fun to listen to. And if you've like seen the routes, you don't really have to know Japanese to follow what's going on. SSL is an L5R hack. Oh god. Yeah. There's lots and lots and lots of Hakuoki content. There's also lots and lots and lots of Shinsengumi content across other otome games. Because after Hakuoki hit it big, everybody wanted a piece of that pie. One of the other ones is on Steam. I don't remember which company is behind it, but it's pretty terrible, actually. Do not recommend. Voltage has a version, has a game where you can date the Shinsengumi. It was okay. I played a route or two out of it. It was fine. It was a mobile game, so you know. There are drama CDs of like otome-centric drama CDs of like Shinsengumi. It's a very long title that I honestly forget off the cuff, but it has very nice art. It's by the same artist who is responsible for Bad Apple Wars, which we might stream here at some point once I get all my gear to actually stream from my Vita. But yeah. Arguably, Hakuoki's probably got the best stuff if you are into Shinsengumi as a thing that you see in fiction. There's also Peacemaker Kurogane, which is pretty fun to watch. I never did finish that, but it's got some interesting takes on the crew. Those guys that were mad at Kenshin. Yeah, yup. Gosh, that take on Saito is real good, too. Wow. I never really watched much of the TV series, but I did watch a couple of the live-action movies, and gosh, they're good. I'm honestly kind of surprised these didn't end up with their own live-action films or something. But maybe the Fury thing would be really hard to deal with. I don't know. Hakuoki Saito better looking. You know? Yes. But wow. What did it? So let's go to the bye-bye screen. I won't have to use this overlay anymore. For now. Thank you for the follow, Laugiodrit. Yeah, Kenshin is a great character. I probably should go back and give that one some attention, because I know I would enjoy it. I just never got around to like watching it in its original run. But yeah. Yes, by all means. So streams are normally from 10 p.m. Pacific to like this time. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That is the usual schedule. Friday, we're going to start playing Dragon Age and kind of alternate it with Hades. So Fridays are usually an actual video game. Saturdays and Sundays are visual novels, specifically otome games. That's kind of the schedule that we run on here. But yeah, so tomorrow, thank you, Dylan. Tomorrow, we will dive back into Psychedelica of the Ashen Hawk. Things are probably going to be real sad over there too, because we definitely just discovered one of our very good boys is the murderer that's been getting rumored about all along, and he does not seem okay, and I'm very worried about Levy. Anyhow, yeah. We'll get to that tomorrow. I might stream something Monday. If I feel like it. Monday's my birthday. I might stream it and hang out with y'all if you want to hang out. I don't know what we'll stream, but we'll stream something, maybe. Okay, Dylan. I don't know. I mean, I could stream at the normal time. Alternatively, maybe a little earlier in the day. I don't know. Aw, thank you. Soon. But yeah, tomorrow for sure. Monday, possible. We'll deal with that when the time comes. But anyway, friends, thank you so much for sticking around for 2.5 years. And it is not an exaggeration to say that Hakuoki made my channel even exist. So, wow. I deeply owe this game. It's very formative to me at this point. Buy it if you can, if you enjoyed this here. Please support it so that they bring us more. Anyhow, friends, if it is early where you are, have a lovely day. If it is late where you are, go get some rest. And until tomorrow, have no chill in the things that bring you joy. Like cherry blossoms. Bye.